Kanye. He's not an influence at all.
Besides music, I know you work at...
Things can happen within like 3 seconds, bro. Like a fight could happen in 3 seconds. I've seen a lot of people die, man. I've been battling depression for like 20 years. So
at one point, I think you mentioned you got stabbed.
I was like dying while I was running.
Hey guys, Faiiks here, and welcome to the first episode of the Flaming Hot Chair podcast. Though basically, this is the podcast where I invite the realest of the realest people I know, and I basically ask them the realest of the realest questions possible. So today, my first guest is someone really special for you. This man's been through things most people can't even imagine. When I heard his story, I couldn't even imagine it myself. But the way he just turned the pain into his music, into strength, into basically helping others, inspired me for this specific person to be my first ever guest. He is an artist, he is a fighter, and he's got a story and wisdom that need to be heard. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome the real J.T.W.
What's up, guys? So, I'm the real J.T.W. I'm from Utah. It's kind of a small town that I live in Utah called Layton. It's not far from Salt Lake City. I've been doing music on and off for about 15 years. Professional, I've been doing it for about 5. And I'm signed with a label, Soulburnin Records.
Awesome, bro. First of all, I'm really glad that we're gonna do this. I'm really glad you're gonna be my first ever guest in this new thing I'm trying to do right now. So we talked about before, but I want the people now to hear everything straight from your mouth. So what I wanted to start with is the way you grew up. Like I have listened to some other people's stories, like crazy stories, but
Yeah.
I can imagine the thing you have gone through in your childhood. Like, can you please let me know again the way you grew up?
So I kind of had a messed up childhood. What kind of happened so I was born, and then we kind of came from poverty. My real mom, my real father, and they got married at a young age. I think they got married around like 18, 19, and then
Wow.
I pop out, and then next thing I know, my dad walks out. Like on my mom when I was 2, she was having a hard time raising me. The cops ended up taking me away from her at 5, and then got into foster care. A lot of bad things happened in my life around 5 to like 6 or so through foster care, and then hopping from grandma to grandma. Just I had 4 moms, so digress into that. I had my real birth mom, and then I had like a foster mom for 2 years, and then I had my 2 grandmas that kind of raised me back to back. So it put a toll on my life, honestly. I think a lot of trauma, hopping from school to school, and then not having friends for a long period of time. I got in and out of hanging around the wrong crowd, and a lot of times could have took my life at a young age, man. But when I moved out here to Utah, things started to take a turn for the better. But I did get back into like a lifestyle that I wish I never had got into, and kind of just follows you, bro, as you go. You go from state to state or city to city. It's a never ending battle.
Okay, how many years have you had to go through this? How many years that took from your life?
Well, I was supposed to. So I survived a lot. Like the street life kind of caught up to me around 10. I think that's when I was like introduced to street life, and it lasted all the way till about age 20, and it was like an on and off thing. But things got really weird around like 15. I think that's when like I started to join people and stuff, like different groups, and I got into that lifestyle of just trying to survive and fit in, and that's kind of where my life kind of went downhill. I got into addiction, battling depression, anxiety. Trauma was starting to kind of disconnect me from the real world, and I just felt like I needed to be accepted, and
Yeah.
it wasn't a good thing, honestly. My whole life it's been like this hell, like a fragment of hell, and me trying to find my way with God, and then going back and forth with this and that. So yeah.
Jesus Christ. Okay, so after that's how many you start. Basically what I heard. Your problem started since 5 years old, since your dad walked out on you and your mom. So that's maybe like 15 years from your life, just from fighting and surviving to become like better and try to fit in. But after like those years, looking at the way you grew up, and do you look at it as a blessing since it shaped you to the person you are now? Do you think the way you grew up just is what made you pursue the way you do it now?
So I've always spoke on mental health. First I started like gangster rap. That's what kind of first started, and then it all started after like a talent show and like fucking junior high or something like that. And then I started writing at 12 though. That's when I started to like, I kind of journaled everything. And then I was looking at my journal. I was like, why is everything a rhyme? It was weird. I was like, okay, maybe I could do music. So that's kind of where I started. But mental health is really just like kind of my biggest aspect because like, I got the trauma from my childhood. And then, I still talk with my mom. I still talk with my dad. Like we do have a relationship. It's not the strongest as it was kind of like growing up and being tossed around and whatnot. But I try my best to keep them in my life and let them know, that's kind of why I got into mental health is just because of them. They had a mental illness, both of them. So that's why they weren't able to take care of me and were making bad decisions as parents, I guess you could say it as. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. At one point, I think you mentioned you got stabbed. Am I
Yeah.
correct? Well, that's
Yeah.
some real life shit, man. Like, I don't know if you want to discuss this, but can you tell us like basically what happened there and how it changed you, both as a person
Yeah.
as an artist?
Yeah, so it was probably around like high school time. It wasn't the first time that I was dealt with like a knife incident or gun even or whatever the case might have been. I was hanging around the wrong crowd. So kind of to digress in a little bit of the story is just kind of like I crossed the wrong path with some people and my friend I think might have maybe possibly got tangled in it and I ended up not even being the person that was involved in it. I was just kind of there for backup and then things went south. They started going after like each one of us and then I kind of just wrong time and wrong place and I even got a heads up leading up to it and then I didn't really think too much of it and then I crossed paths with this person and it happened, and then I was in shock, bleeding out, and ran crazy. I was like dying while I was running. So funny how that is. But change your mindset, when you get, sliced or stabbed or whatever the case it might have been, at the time. Like, you know what I mean? A person could get, shot and still be walking, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like people don't understand it, but it's hard to like understand it unless you're the person that it's happening to. So yeah.
I wouldn't understand it myself. Like, I don't. It's quite shocking to me, like how a person can go through this and still pull it up. Like, for me, that's what I told you. Were a fighter, man. You have put to the most realist, fucked up situations, and for me, it's really crazy that traumas like this or difficult stages can inspire a person to create something, to motivate you to create something like uh, whether it'll be a track, a cipher, or even an album. Like, for me, I can
Yeah.
go through something right now and I'll immediately be inspired and write something about it, what I'm going through. Is that the same way for you?
Yeah, so I feel like everything that I speak on is real. Like everything's either happened or something that affected me. Maybe watching the news and I turn it into a story that it affected me. That's really how it is. Real people will latch on to something that's real. It's not going to be like a fairy tale. That's the thing, is stay away from anybody who's like telling fairy tales. They might not have the exact time frames and timestamps to be exact what age and what time it happened, but as my mind, from going through trauma and stuff, I try to be as accurate as I can, but everything I speak on is real shit. So
Yeah, bro,
yeah,
that's amazing. I when it since I'm still back on. Sorry, I'm going back to it. I'm still going back to the stabbing moment. Just for me, for me that would be a wake up call that I'm doing something wrong in my life, and I feel like you did
yeah,
the same as well. Like this probably was a wake up call to you because it happened in high school, and for me, brother, I think you just have to look at this shit as a blessing to get you away from the street life and
yeah,
basically help. I feel like this thing helped you to be who you are right now. That's why you make this music. And I even when I hear the your lyrics, bro, I feel like a real shit. I talked with you before on some of your songs. I felt like crying. Literally, I felt like
yeah,
crying on some of them because you were talking things I'm going through.
yeah,
You put the words, I would say, in a simple way, but enough for a person to resonate with them and basically be a part of. I feel like you're like you're a brother basically to me. Like that's how I feel about it,
yeah,
in that way. And also, yeah, I wanted to ask you. I've seen couple of stories of you. You're going to the gym, right? You're going to the gym.
yeah.
So, do you think the
Right.
gym has become another outlet for you? Like a place where you can process the pain, clear your head from all the negative shit going around, or even find motivation for your music?
Yeah, the gym kind of started when I was young too. It was kind of everything seemed to happen right around 12. But I started like really getting into lifting probably around 14. It was just another a release of being able to kind of like take any kind of damage that I've dealt with, and then just become stronger. Anybody who's out there who's feeling like they're trying to have to fit in or something, you need to be strong, you know what I mean, like not just mentally but physically, you know what I mean, because like even when I got sliced up, stabbed up, whatever, like I was already built pretty strong, you know what I mean, like I walked around high school with a fucking six-pack. Now I got a fucking keg, that I walk around with. But like it's just a different mental mindset, you get what I'm saying, like if you can put yourself in that place, and like each time you got to grow. So fitness is just a way of growing. It's like music, I treat it as a job. Sometimes I don't even like going, but I go every single day. And I don't know if that's really healthy to go to the gym every day, but like it's better than like doing drugs every day or something, you know what I mean, like
Yeah,
even though sometimes fragments of part of my life was that, but I'm not proud of that. But yeah, the gym is an amazing place, man. Really, I started going. I think I went with my grandpa one day. Started out as basketball for 2 years, and then I seen these guys that lifting weights, and I was like, hey, I want to be that guy. And then went from there, and then I haven't stopped since. I'm 32 now. I mean, 20 years of that shit. So yeah.
that's amazing. Do you take any supplements with that, or you just going for setting new PR on a bench on a deadlift?
So I don't take any supplements really now. I do have like maybe like electric light drinks I'll drink from time to time, but really just mainly food, like sardines, tuna, you can get the same nutrients from that than just drinking like a whey protein shake. You know what I mean? There's less calories too a lot of times. Like you'll drinking a protein shake and it's like 400 calories, and your body's mainly made of like fluids. So but I did it back in the day. I used to mess around with supplements, creatine, whey protein, all that mass gainers, whatever I needed at the time to put on weight or size. But at my age, hell no. 32, no, I'm not taking shit now. It's like it's not worth it for me, But if
Yeah,
there's like a free protein shake sitting around or something, I'll drink it. But like I ain't paying for that shit, So
fair enough, fair enough. Okay, so
yeah.
let's switch it up a little bit and talk about some of your personal life. Besides music, I know you work at. Could
So I work at a hospital actually. I don't
okay,
I help patients in need. Can't really digress too much into my background as far as with my work, but I work in a hospital. So
okay.
uh, that's kind of another part of the mental health side of things. But yeah, I've been doing that for 10, 11 years or something. I've been with the company I'm with, and yeah, it's been a blessing, man. It really has.
So how does this kind of work impact you personally? Does it change the way you see people or even inspire the way you approach music?
Um, yeah, so I never base a story off of anything like that, like as far as like anything like where I like work related, but like everything mental health, like I got enough story as it is that I can tell, but then like there's been a lot of things like that I've seen like on the news and stuff. I don't know if you know about like a lot of the suicide rate has went very high up in the recent years, and they
Yeah.
started live streaming it. They started using social media as a tool to get suicide promoted out there while people are doing it. And I don't know if you know the song "Shattered." I did. That was the first song that kind of got me on the map or whatever, went viral or so forth. But I kind of digressed into a story that something that I had seen visualized on a video, like
Mhm.
watching it. And right after that, I was kind of like, okay, I got to take this seriously, and really help people out there that are going through something. So that's
Yeah.
why I digress into suicide, addiction, depression. A lot of I've seen a lot of people die, man. I've had people die in my fucking arms, bro. It's not something I'm proud of. I've had friends overdose. I was on my way to save a friend one time, and
Mhm.
he got gunned down before I could even get to him. By the time I got to him, the paramedics had a cape over his head. So there is something to understand when people die. So like if he would have still been alive, they would have just had him like on a stretcher, and his body wouldn't have been completely taped over. But anytime somebody's body's like covered over or so forth, that means that they are deceased. So they are no longer with you. So yeah, a lot of shit in the streets, man. That I had to
Jesus
deal with.
Christ. You have seen your
Yeah,
friend die. Like, couldn't even imagine my friends die. I have two friends that I know for the past 20 years. They're both on the other side of the world. So whenever I get a chance to talk with them, I talk with them. If I lose them both, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Wanted to talk about also your new track, which was with that it has a feature from Amelia Martin. I'm switching up a
yeah,
little bit, but still I wanted to talk about it because
yeah.
how did you connect with her? Because she has an amazing voice. How did the track happen? Can you talk about it?
So I kind of just approached her on social media. I don't know. I was kind of going through a stage where I was like, I need a female feature, and kind of put a few things on my story. I wasn't hearing too much back, as far as a few females had reached out saying I want to be on the track, and then they just weren't cut out for it. So then one day I was just kind of going through. I did something called hashtag unsigned female artists, and then she kind of just popped up, and then I just messaged her. And kind of funny how you have to message people on IG, because the shit goes like, if you're not following each other, it literally goes into that like little folder where you like check it like 3 months later, and you're like, what the fuck, 500 missed DMs, or like.
Mhm.
So I ended up just hitting her comment section. I was like, check your DM. I got an opportunity for you to be on the track or something like that. And then she messaged me back. She was out of town or so forth at the time, so I had to kind of wait a couple weeks before the feature could get in motion. And that's kind of just how it all just happened. She's from London, though, so she's got that accent you might hear. So yeah, that's just kind of how it happened. And I think she took a liking to my music, maybe checked me out a little bit as far as the music side of things, and then was like, yeah, let's do it. And then yeah, went from there pretty much.
Probably I didn't notice none of the accent. I only noticed her voice. Her voice was amazing, but and the track by itself it's really good. But you mentioned that it's a private conversation again. But you mentioned that it didn't do the numbers you were quite hoping for, and we connected it basically with the industry, how fucked up it is, and
Yeah.
I wanted to talk with you about the industry for a second. Like me and Bolt, you feel like this is kind of a the situation right now is kind of rigged. Like unless you got
Yeah.
relatives already in the industry or family that's successful
Yeah.
artist, or you're willing to get with some nasty behind the scenes shit, like I don't want to even think about it right now, but
Right.
it's some shit that nobody in the media wants to talk about. Everybody hides, and it feels like it's almost impossible to get real recognition right now. I honestly can give an opinion on someone I know you truly dislike right now, Glorilla. From what I heard, she is a relative to Little Uzi Vert. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
do you think basically that the industry is right now is designed to block like artists like me and you from shining unless they have to play the game that way? And what's your advice
Yeah.
for someone try to make it without those connections and without those family bullshit?
So the way the mainstream is kind of programmed is the labels own all the tools that we need as independent artists. That's why a lot of times, like most of the shit that they own is actually like. So there's like a thing called organic bots, which I know is probably doesn't even make any sense how I'm saying it's a bot, but they have bot farms. So what they
Yeah,
do
I
is
know those.
they'll they'll have like they'll have a label, big giant label. They'll have like 30, 40 people in a room, and they'll just have the song on loop playing it. They'll put them in playlists. They'll make fake playlists. They'll pretty much give you pretty much social proof in its own. And then what they'll do is they'll grab a bunch of bots and they'll throw it on their account. And then the algorithm, they have the tools to trick the algorithm, and yeah, they go viral, bro. I mean, how the fuck is Taylor Swift get 300 million views in a week? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not even possible, bro. It's not even possible. Like, it's not even possible. It's not even remotely possible. So they have for the bigger names, they have tools like Drake. I mean, I don't think too much of Drake. Kanye, I'm not. He's not an influence at all. Honestly, I think Kanye had a good run at first, and then he turned himself into this thing called Yay, and just kind of went downhill. You know, he was talking about God, and I don't know, I'm God and all this shit, and then I don't know, bro. But what I can say about the industry, so the underground industry is kind of failing at this point right now. You don't see a lot of artists that are active. And I'm trying to stay active as much as I can. I know I've talked to you kind of like outside in the darkness type thing, where it's like, I don't know how much long I have left on Earth. Like, I really just don't see a timestamp of it being long. But the main thing I could say for artists is be consistent. Try to get to know your fans a little bit. Network, share their stuff, be respectful. If they want to just vent out or talk, be there for them. I mean, people act like they don't have time for anything, other
Oh
than to
yeah.
go listen to Kendrick Lamar. Like, what do you get out of listening to Kendrick Lamar then you can't get out of like an underground artist that has the same talents? Like maybe even more talented. So you just got to pick who you got to pick. Like, as a fan, you got to pick who is real and who's got something to offer, and then go with them. Like, the mainstream's just so fucking corrupt right now, bro.
For
Like,
real, for
the
real.
corrupt.
When they make popular people like Little Nas X or fucking I don't know, I don't even know who to
Yeah.
mention right now. Like Lil Pump was something back then, but it's just terrible how the way they treat like people like you and me. Uh, you,
Yeah.
as I told you before, your lyrics are real, simple, and people like it. But if you're not do the how do you call them, those bot room machines, which I don't. I don't know how they do. I know how they do it, but I don't know how they are able to pull that shit through. If you don't do that shit, we're basically done. Maybe
Yeah.
you're one of the few people I know from the underground. They're doing that shit consistently. How many albums you have right now? Can you tell the people how many albums you have right now?
So I dropped. So I've dropped EP before my label, which is out, called the Good and the Bad. I dropped that in 2020, and that's when I met my label. After I dropped my hit song "Shattered," I popped it up on SoundCloud, started using reposts and this thing called Hyped, and it kind of just like a one's an email blast, and then the other one is just repost exchange or whatever. Uh, they've started to kind of they're not as big of an active user thing now, so it's kind of like hard to go viral or get anything really from that, but kind of just got to maneuver, and then like I said, build an audience and a niche. But so I had Watch Me Bleed. I dropped in 2022. That was my debut album. That was pretty much my whole life story. It kind of digressed into the street life, some of the things I went through. And then moving on to 2023, I dropped Painful Living, which was kind of the storyline behind all the anger that I dealt with when I was a kid growing up. Just kind of everything that was built up, mainly based around mental illness and stuff. So the things that my mom and dad were dealing with and I had to watch. And then growing up, I had to I'm bipolar. I got ADHD. I got addiction, depression. I got like multiple personalities. Like that's part of my bipolar. I don't know. It's fucking crazy. But and then moving on to the newest album that I dropped, which was in 2025 of January. It was Way Below Ground, which was just kind of like another, kind of just like a darker aspect of the way how I seen life. So kind of just, yeah, that's pretty much what that was.
So for 5 years, you started 2020. That's like 4 albums and 5 EPs. That's some real work ethic, man. Uh, I'm really proud of you, man. I'm really proud that you put the work in. Like there's a
Appreciate
new song every month, and it's just amazing. Like you connect with people, you share their stories, you comment constantly on their videos, and you're just being real. And I want to connect it to something that happened really recent. You created Sweet Cigareros J and made interviews and created ciphers with other artists. And I want to talk with one specific artist that recently you had a beef with, and that is Eway. No way. What the
Mm-hmm.
fuck happened there? Like, I want to hear your side of the story. I don't know if Eway will watch this, but we gotta know
Yeah.
because the way he was on your cipher, man, we gotta just know.
Uh, so Eway is a fucking snake, as far as I'll put it. But what happened was is I was trying to help him. I helped him with cover arts. I've done a lot of things for the industry, and then look how I get treated in return. But I gave him a platform to shine on. Right now, the platform's not really active. I kind of built it for a second and kind of just went to shit. But I'm sitting on probably 6, 7 interviews that need to be uploaded. But I did a giveaway. It was kind of like a sponsored opportunity. So I do have like sponsors and stuff. I'm sponsored to G Fuel energy drinks. You probably heard of FaZe Rug or whatever. He's like the main guy of that. But I think Cup or Chubby or something like that. It's another energy drink line. Sponsored kind of with like some music marketing like things, so magazines and stuff like that. So it was like a PR thing. So you get like a free PR in a magazine or so forth. And he just kind of was like being all shitty about it. Like we did it fair, we had like I think like 30 or 50 people in or whatever, and then we had the wheel go around, and then it didn't hit his name, and he's like pretty much was shitting on the platform, and I was kind of like I called him out. I was like, hey man, like you win some, you lose some. There's always the next time. He's like, fuck that, this, that. And then I was just like, okay, I see the real side of this guy. So I took the sponsor side, he didn't do anything wrong, and I was the main guy who was promoting it. So just really just a bad business thing, as far as him, not understanding music business, and then understanding like, you win out of, like if we would have just picked a random person, like, I mean, I've done that shit in the past, and it's always unfair because it's just like, why? You know what I mean? Make it fair. So we did just spin the wheel, and he got all butthurt about it. And he's pretty much started blasting me on a story and shit, saying like we're frauds and all this bullshit. And then I got in the middle of it. Yeah.
No, of course you're gonna get a middle. Like, I mean, he has his points, you have your points, but since you cannot prove, I personally think the giveaway was fair. I don't have nothing bad to say about it, but you
Yeah.
just, I don't feel like I'll just go and oh, you did. this giveaway was rigged, everything was rigged, fuck you, fuck this, fuck that, like you don't do
Yeah.
it that way. Like there's other ways
Right.
to grow, there's we other giveaways. So maybe that would be a message for everybody right now that if you cannot so just have to accept it's all business, yeah, you cannot be mad about it in any sort of way. Yeah, but
Exactly.
honestly, you gotta give him that his cipher was good. He had a good
Yeah. Yeah.
cipher. His cipher was
Oh
good.
no, I liked it. You know, he's a good talented artist. That's the thing is you got like a lot of these artists, bro. They're like a good artist, but then like, are they really like are they a real person? You know what I'm saying? Like, are they a good person? Like, yes, he's probably a good person outside of like social media and shit, but like the social media aspect, no, I wouldn't put him as like
Mhm.
somebody you could look at and be like, okay, like he's impactful. So
Yeah, first of all, as you said, before music, you have to be a person. Like you have to be real. That's why we made the podcast right here to talk about real stuff. We talk about like
yeah,
real normal people, bad, negative, good stuff, just the weirdest of the weird stuff. So I'm saying this because I wanted to connect it to something that you made public recently, and it was your marriage situation. I'm not gonna ask nothing about the marriage, your situation with your
right,
ex-wife, but I
yeah.
wanted to connect it with something else. Like, what's your opinion on love? How do you view love? What is love for you?
So I think love is like a strong word. I think people throw it around sometimes. Like when you say it genuinely, like genuinely or whatever, like, and it feels genuine. Like then, like I don't know, like there's a meaning to it. But like you can love somebody and then hate them the next day. You get what I'm saying? Like it's a strong word, but as far as like the relationship aspect, I feel like if you got two positives, they'll make what I mean. They'll make the right, like you got to have a person that's going to have like pretty much the same traits as you for it to ever really work. So like I mean, I whatever you see as a picture, like you see all these people posting like their loved ones and their family and all this shit.
Oh yeah,
It's not real. It's not even real life, bro. Like it's just a photo. But like deep down inside, they probably fucking like hate each other. You get what I'm saying? Like it's just you can't look like it's like when you look at God's like, is this really God? You get what I'm saying? Like, is it really, really like this? Or like, you know what I mean? It's different than like music, like if they actually voice like how they feel instead of like just I love her this, love her that, she did this. Like it's kind of a fake aspect of real. Like you're kind of almost just putting yourself in this box, and it's like okay, like you're making everything seem like everything's so great.
hmm
You had a fucking kid at like 16 or whatever. You're gonna tell me that you guys just were like two fucking peas in a pod. You're gonna lie, and I don't know, bro. Like love is just it's a good thing to like have, but even like family and shit, that shit doesn't last. It's like 1 minute you love them and the next minute you hate them. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, I feel you. I feel you. Especially on the part where people, couples, just post each other on social media and say how they love each other. I unfortunately know some social content creators who on videos on posts they seem so much in love, they have kids and everything, and they make their life seem so perfect, but the harsh truth is they're not even together right now. They're fucking miserable. They're
yeah,
cheating on each other. They live in different households, and they're fighting for the kids constantly, and it's just terrible, terrible thing. And honestly, my whole situation with love has been complicated all my life. Like I have been through to good and bad in terms of love, and but I wanted to ask you, when it comes to writing about real shit, have you ever wrote a song about somebody? Have you wrote a song when you were heartbroken by somebody? Have you written a song where you were in love with someone?
yeah. So in my past, I used to talk about love a lot, but I don't. A couple of my upcoming songs that I got coming. Little bit digressing more into like kind of like similar to the song I just dropped, but it's not really on love. But um Yeah, love is a big aspect. I think I need to like touch down on it a little bit more because I think people aren't being real about it. Like they're just kind of like hiding behind this just this photo, you know what I mean? They put a photo on fucking social media and they say, "Oh, I'm so happy and blessed." Like deep down inside they're really like fucking not even like probably there with life. Like they're just a photo doesn't tell anything other than a bullshit story that isn't real. Like I don't know, but yeah, in the past I did do some songs and I never really got anything out of it as far as for my mental. You know, like I
Mhm.
sometimes I feel like relationships, you know, they're just complicated and love is just complicated in general, bro. So, but it is something I need to touch down on more. I think a lot of people are struggling with it. And if I can touch down on it in a real way, I probably will. So,
Nowadays, especially because we grew up in two different generations with you, but still, from the way I feel love nowadays, from what my encounters, it's really rare to find someone. Even talking to other people nowadays, I can only see that on the there, everything is like surface level bullshit. And
yeah.
unfortunately, when they see someone real like me and you, they try to escape from it, try to ignore it because they are not used to this type of deep connection with someone. Everything is like surface level bullshit, and everybody just wants
Yeah.
one thing, and that's money. If that's money, that's status, that's basically anything that can be handed to them like this for free. Nowadays, I see
Right.
that a lot of people are not used to build with each other together. Like, I don't know your situation with your wife and how did you guys meet and how if she was like, did she saw you when you had nothing else and all that stuff. I'm not gonna ask you,
Yeah.
but I think you can agree with me. But nowadays, the situation is not like what was when you were like 15 or 16 or something like that.
Yeah. Kind of growing up, like, I feel like you kind of got to go through a lot of relationships, a lot of dating, really. I think it's all just, I think you learn more from dating than you do actually being in like a relationship. Cause, well, you learn a lot in a relationship, but it always just comes down to toxic, you know, like, is it toxic? Is it not? It's always like, I don't know if you ever see those like TikToks or like YouTube shorts or whatever, but like it's true. Like the first month's always smooth, and then like you get to like the 3 month mark, it's like okay, you know, you guys are kind of getting along. And then you hit the 6 month mark, and it's like you know things are starting to get a little weird. You know, you might smack her on the ass. You're starting to get more comfortable. Maybe you take a shit and she's talking to you while you're taking a shit, you know, outside the door. And then that's when you know the relationship's like real and comfortable because you're comfortable with each other. And then you hit that year mark and then it's like, right after that, you're probably engaged or some shit. I don't know. And then go through that for like 1 to 2 years, and then you get married, and then it's just kind of like that's when life hits you. You know, you move in together, and you just evolve. You know, every day. So relationships really just they're either like good or they're bad. You know, it's really there's no definition to relationship really. I mean, there is healthy relationships out there, but they don't really exist in our generation right now. I hate to say it. Like, you know, you probably look at like your grandparents, maybe for instance, like mine, you know, they've been married for like 50 years, you know, that's real love. But they have this mark, you know, where it's like if you make it to 10 years, you know, then it could be just, you know, you just staying with that person, you know, and then, or, you know, you hit the 20-year mark and maybe you're just staying with that person because who's going to take you after a fucking divorce or like a relationship gone wrong. So, um,
Yeah.
yeah, just love one another really, but it's hard to do that, you know,
No, it's
sometimes.
definitely hard, and it's definitely hard when you have to sacrifice something from you to give it to the to for the other person to be alike. Like nowadays, ego is a big thing and ruins a lot of friendship, relationships, and just it ruins everything right now. Ego is a big thing. Like maybe we have to give some kind of a message in order to for people that struggle with love and have this big ego for themselves. What do you think we should give in terms of a message?
Well, so I'll say this. So let's say you shave your face, right? And you look in the mirror, right? 2 days later, you got the hair growing back, right?
Yeah.
So the thing with relationships, it's the same thing. Is it's always a change. You know what I'm saying? Things can happen within like 3 seconds, bro. Like a fight could happen in 3 seconds, or a relationship could get fixed in 3 seconds. Like, it's crazy how fast life just keeps evolving. You know what I mean? You're either evolving in a good way or a bad way. Like, it just keeps going forward. So if you're strong enough and you love someone, stick it out, and just do your best to keep it working. But if you feel that there's no like way in hell that this shit's gonna work, like, maybe think about, your life and maybe what to put first, maybe your dreams, But you got a lot of people that have kids, I see a lot of people like in the music industry struggling right now who have like a full family. Like, I don't feel like they're motivated to chase their dreams. So I think sometimes, chasing your dreams and at least having like a good job and something like that will play a factor, because you can't really love someone unless you love yourself. So
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. That's an unwritten rule that everybody has to know. We call it the rule number 5. It's called like if you're not happy with yourself, nobody else will make you happy. Like even if you have any traumas in it, like you said, post traumatic stress disorder, personality disorders, and all that stuff. If you don't acknowledge that you have those stuff and you don't work towards them, like nobody else could fix that shit for you. And I feel like with you, you turn into music is sort of some kind of a remedy, and to cure you from those kind of mental illnesses you talked about. See uh, do you see that when you go into the studio and when you record? Do you see that as a healing in some sort of way, as a remedy?
Um, so sometimes like some of the music I make, it isn't really like it is a healing ground for me, but like that's the thing is like I get the frustration, like, is it gonna get heard? Is it gonna get heard by the right people? So sometimes I'll make a song and it just doesn't do well, and I'm like, well, fuck, that was one of my most powerful songs and nobody even got touched by it. So um I go in with like an open mind, and I try to just deliver the best that I can as far as getting the aspect of what I'm trying to speak on, whether it's love, addiction, depression, whatever. I might throw it all in just one. Like, I do that a lot, but I really just try to like use what I try to do with the music is I try to teach people that emotions, like, let that shit out. If you like feel a certain way, just let it out. But if you know it's gonna harm someone, though, like, be very careful with your words. Like, there's a lot of lines in my word, like my wordplay, that's kind of like harmful, but then I just say it anyway because it's just the thought process is part of mental health. So, letting that shit out instead of letting it inner build is something that I think everybody needs to do, at a certain point in their life, whether it's music or writing or reading a book or whatever it could be.
Of course,
So,
of course, you have to tell it like the way you wanted to say it, and just try to. I personally think that you have to try to say it the exact way how you feel it. Otherwise, I don't feel like you can could be understood.
all right.
And that's the way I just feel. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. Maybe you feel the same way. What you gonna say about that?
Yeah, I feel the same exact way, bro. Because I mean, really, not everybody's going to be touched by every subject line that you speak on, but like somebody's going to be touched. What they always say, like, if one person listens to it, then I'm happy with that. For me, it's more like I need 1,000 people to hear it, because I feel like just because of like the detail that I put in, it's a little bit different, but I try to act like I'm on the mainstream level, but I'm really not. I have a lot of flaws in my music, where like sometimes I'll, maybe use like a line over and over again, and it just feels like it's getting nowhere, or I'll say the same subject line. So there's things and aspects that I need to do to get my music a little bit more sharper as far as like getting the message out there. So yeah, I struggle with it, man. And, I'm probably going to keep struggling with it.
Well, at least now, with that in mind, I suggest to the viewers right now to go and stream his new song, It's Alright, with Amelia Martin. The song, personally, I feel like it's really good song. You mentioned that it doesn't do good on numbers right now, but the track needs to be heard because it's a real song from a real artist, guys, right now. Uh, Thank you for sharing those opinions with you. Now I want to run some quick questions with you. You can
Okay.
answer as long as you want with them. So,
Yeah. All right.
what's one thing about JTW that people don't know yet, but you want them to know?
So I've been battling depression for like 20 years. So the thing I would say with depression is it comes and goes. Like you really just have to work on your ego. I feel like that plays a big factor. So kind of goes back to love. Like you got to learn to love one another, and I think that can heal things. But uh, just surround yourself around the right energy, and anything's possible in life. You can set your dreams high, and they can be achieved. Maybe a small fragment or whatever, and that's an achievement in itself.
Awesome. Well, what's one song out there, not yours, but from a different artist, that you can really listen to and think like this song connects with me on a deep level?
So there's a song called "Slippin' Again" by DMX. It's a really good song. It kind of digresses into it like the thing. I think the chord or the verse or something like it's like slipping and falling. It just kind of reminisces with me because it's just really like you do slip and you fall, and then you just have to pick yourself back up. And DMX is my biggest idol. I got a feature with him through licensing, so
Yeah.
like through like a label type thing, and they buy the licensing out and whatever. So yeah, I was able to achieve that, and I think that was one of my big goals is just be able to say like I even had conversations with DMX leading up to his death. It was about 6 or 7 months before his death. He had a mixtape for underground artists, and it was just too expensive at the time. And then, yeah, I ended up turning it down. And he kind of straightforward told me, like, can't waste any more time on you. I got to move on to the next artist. Best regards, type thing. But we kind of got deep into conversation and stuff. So outside of even just listening to his music, I was able to just kind of have that interconnection, even if it was just through message or whatever. So
Wow. I remember your
uh,
feature. I remember your song with DMX, but I didn't know that you had a conversation with him. Like, how did you feel like when he passed? Like, because it was your conversation you said was fairly recent with him, and you were mentioned that you listened to him when you were younger. How did you
right.
feel when he passed?
I cried like a baby. It's weird. I like cried more when he died than like when I lost my grandma. Like, um, which that song "Blessed" a long time ago back I recorded. That was a dedication to her. But it just felt like music moves you sometimes more than a family member can, like in a sense. But like
Oh, of
I
course.
still was hurt. I was like I put it in that aspect is because that's how I felt. Like it was just as bad as like when my grandma Nana passed. Like it hurt me just as bad as that. So I probably maybe cried the same or maybe more. So yeah, sat in a parking lot and just cried my eyes out of the like I was sitting outside the gym. People were looking at me like I was a fool, and it's just like sometimes you got to cry. So
Of
you know,
course, when you're hurting, you have to say you're hurting. When you cry, you have to cry. When you wanna yell, you have to yell. Like I
yeah,
understand you because I had a similar situation with another artist. My inspiration to start making music, I told you, XXX Tentacion. I just
yeah,
remember the day he passed. It was like 6 in the morning when I woke up where I lived back in the day, and I
yeah,
just saw a picture of him and another artist together, and the artist had said, "Rest in peace, brother," and I couldn't even handle the rest of the day. I cried
yeah.
through like a baby for a whole week. Uh, it was just
Right.
like at that day I even had an exam. I didn't write shit on the exam. I was prepared for the exam and I still didn't write shit just because of the emotion
Yeah.
I felt that way. And just like as you said, music just moves you just more than a family member could move you, which is a real
Yeah.
thing right now. And you as well, music wise, you are in my opinion, an amazing artist. You create again. repeating myself. You create music that is real. Your lyrics are real. Your voice, I can feel it in your voice that you want to talk. Basically, this is the you speak from pure emotion, and you could create the emotion that can resonate with people. And I wanted to
Right.
ask you, where do you see your music going in the next couple of years?
So I was kind of talking about the albums that were released. I'm actually sitting on 5 albums that are finished. So if I died tomorrow, the world would still have 10 years of music from me. So it's kind of like I put myself in like Tupac's shoes. Like Tupac, when he died, he left like 7 albums behind, bro.
Hmm.
And like thankfully they released them. And I really do hope for like XX Tentacion. Like I hope that we get the same thing, bro, because we deserve that, man, as fans. Like you look at the Juice World aspect of things. Like he recorded like 10 albums. Like he was sitting on 10 albums when he died, and they've only released
Yeah,
like two or three or some shit. And it's just like now they're gonna stop. Like he didn't just go in the studio for nothing. Like get that shit out there so the world can hear that shit, even if it's not like polished or whatever. That's the thing with the mainstream. They have all the tools to make it happen. Like make that shit happen. Like I don't know if you heard the XX Tentacion and Juice World song. It's on I think Juice World or X. It might be on XX Tentacion's page, one of the pages, but they did a little like they were able to put a collaboration together. I don't know how it was made or whatever, but I mean the world needed to hear it, and a lot of people were moved by it.
yeah, I remember the song, and I was quite surprised that it happened. And I'm quite glad it happened because it was a feature like the other people needed, the fans needed, and
Yeah.
yeah, it was an awesome thing from both labels for both sides to do. Uh,
Uh,
yeah, well, bro, I appreciate you opening up and being real with us. It was
yeah.
truly an amazing thing for you to be here. Like, would you would you say that after this conversation, do you think of writing a song about love now?
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. I'll probably release it maybe sooner because I've already done it. So, yeah, probably get it out there even sooner to the world now. I'll probably say 2026 for sure. You'll get a song like that, and I'll make sure that it's powerful. So
Awesome, I appreciate it,
most
brother.
definitely,
I appreciate it.
yeah.
Like, and finally, my last question to you is: what kind of message would you like to tell the people who watch, the people who go through shit right now, and the people who basically are your fans and supporters right now?
So if you're battling depression, addiction, trauma, mental illness, mental health, or whatever it is, just remember that God loves you, and He's a big part of why we breathe every day. We're actually a part of God. We are a fragment of God, if that makes sense. Like He left us on Earth for a reason. He didn't just put us on Earth for no reason. You know what I'm saying? Like He put us on for maybe sometimes we feel like slaves to the system and so forth, but you just got to keep going. This is part of life. I feel like he worked and we got to work as well. So life just keeps moving on. And if for some reason, this is the last time that anybody ever hears from me, like the biggest thing is just remember to love one another. And regardless of the outcome, just treat each other, respectfully. And you'll be treated respectfully back. That's what I have to offer.
Thank you so much, man. Thank you so much for this message. I think this message will go to the right people. Uh, Thank you for being part of this, my first ever podcast. It would feel like more of a convo than rather than an interview. I think the people will love that, man. I think people will love that.
Oh yeah, man. Thank you again too. Thank you, man. I can't thank you enough, man, because people need to be heard, bro. Whether it's through music or just through a podcast or interview or whatever you want to, you know what I mean? People need to be heard. So it's bigger than the music, I always say. You know
Glad.
what I mean?
God bless you, brother. God bless you. Okay,
You
guys.
too, brother.
Thank you so much for watching the first ever episode of the Flaming Hot Chair podcast with my guest, J.T.W., an amazing person, a real person, in my opinion, and just a real artist that I suggest you guys go and listen to right now. Thank you so much for watching, and peace out.
We out, y'all.